extra pickles, no lettuce, no tomatoes, grilled onions, strawberry lemonade. A 3x3 ordered at the In-N-Out window with the focus of a man defusing a bomb, because in his head, that's exactly what was waiting at home. Not a fight, not a screaming match. Soup, chicken soup, made by the woman carrying his son in the house he pays for. And the whole drive over, he's telling thousands of people on a live stream, I already ate. I ate before I came. That's my tactics. Tactics. Like he's breaching a compound, not walking into his own kitchen. What he actually walked into was worse than the soup. Real quick, before we open that closet door, if you're the type who pauses these videos, rewinds, and argues with us in the comments at 3 a.m., you're already one of us. Hit like, hit subscribe, tap the bell, because what happens in the second half of this stream got completely buried under the voodoo jokes. And the buried part is the story. So let's set the table. Monday, Los Angeles. Blueface, Jonathan Porter, pulls up to his own house after spending the weekend live streaming with Chrisean Rock in San Diego, a trip that included a cozy couch nap on camera and an actual police stop after his show at Blue Temple, where he and his crew ended up briefly in handcuffs while Chrisean held her son. Waiting at home, Nevaeh Akira, 38 weeks pregnant with their first child together, due any day now. Her son Superior is in the house, and in a back closet behind a closed door, there's a small altar, candles lit, beads, offerings, which is the thing that matters here. Not the soup. The door. Now, before we go through that door, you need to understand something about the man holding the handle. Because if you only know Blueface from Thoshiana, you are missing the business model. And the business model is the whole episode. Jonathan Porter did not just become a rapper who streams. Somewhere between the hit record and right now, he became a broadcaster of his own domestic life. A one-man network where the programming is the relationships themselves. Girlfriends aren't partners in that ecosystem. They're cast. He literally uses roster language, cuts, selections, making the team. And he has used it publicly, repeatedly, on the record for months. When he told the world in January that his love life is a dictatorship, not a democracy. That wasn't a joke that landed badly. That was a mission statement. And the Chrisean weekend he was coming home from? That wasn't some random X popping up. That is the longest-running franchise in Blue's world. And it comes with a paper trail. Chrisean gave birth to her son on Instagram Live back in September 2023. Literally streamed the delivery. By December 2023, Blueface was publicly denying paternity, citing a DNA test. In February 2025, Chrisean posted what was presented as paternity results to the child's own Instagram account, apparently naming him as the father. In November 2025, he called the boy his son on a live stream. And then in March of this year, he reversed again, posting that Junior is not my biological son, RIP to his father Ronnie, saying he tried to fill in the blanks because the biological father passed away in 2025, but that he couldn't continue the plot because it doesn't feel right. Chrisean's response, notably, wasn't a DNA rebuttal. It was, pray for Jonathan. Hold on to that whiplash, deny, claim, deny again, because it is the exact rhythm of everything you're about to hear. This is a man whose public positions have seasons, and 2 months after that March denial, he went further, claiming the whole family image with Chrisean had been performed for money. His words, his framing, the family was content. So when this same man comes home from a weekend of streaming with her and finds candles in a closet, understand, he is not walking into a surprise. He is walking into the only room in his life that wasn't already on camera. And one more piece of table setting, because it explains the temperature in that house before he ever opened the door. The San Diego trip wasn't quiet. According to TMZ's reporting, the stop happened shortly after his performance at Blue Temple. Police had the rapper and members of his camera crew step out of the vehicle, and livestream footage appeared to show Blueface and others briefly in handcuffs, while Chrisean held Chrisean Jr. The reason for the stop was unclear from the footage. The group was ultimately released, no arrests indicated. So by the time that car pulled back into his driveway in Los Angeles, Nevaeh hadn't just watched a weekend stream. She'd watched a weekend stream, a couch nap, and police lights, all starring the woman whose paternity claim her man calls fiction. 38 weeks pregnant. Keep that pressure gauge in mind. It reads on everything. The words first, exactly as they were said. Nevaeh, sitting on the floor in front of the altar when he opens the door. I'm doing my prayers. You want to join? She invited him in. Just sit with that for half a second, because everything that happens after this gets funnier and sadder at the same time. Blueface did not join. According to the report on the stream, he called her a voodoo witch and ran out of his own front door with his crew behind him. On the way out, he's yelling about chicken voodoo soup and telling the chat, and this is a direct quote, "You mean to tell me I've been with a voodoo witch this whole time?" Okay. Let's just acknowledge the geometry of that moment, because the blog sprinted past it. A grown man, a touring artist, a man who 4 days earlier stood his ground with actual police officers, actual handcuffs, actual gang unit adjacent traffic stop, per the live stream footage TMZ described, took one look at a pregnant woman sitting cross-legged in front of candles and evacuated his own property. With an entourage, the cops couldn't move him. The candles did. Whatever you think was in that closet, the exit velocity tells you what was in his head. Later in the stream, when he finally sits down across from her, instead of sprinting away from her, Nevaeh puts it in her own words. It's not voodoo. That's my religion. That's my belief. That's what I do. I sit down and I pray to my altar. She names her practice, mentions her babalao, that's an Ifa priest, for anyone Googling, and a witch sister, and says she's been walking this path for about 10 years. And the vocabulary matters here. So let's slow down for the people who only know this stuff from horror movies. What she described on that stream, a babalao, the orishes, shango, the elix, the beaded necklaces on her wrist, that is the language of the Yoruba traditions, Ifa, and its diaspora relatives, practices with centuries of lineage behind them, carried across the Atlantic, and kept alive through generations who were literally forbidden from practicing them. There's a priesthood structure. There are initiations. There are elders. Whether you believe a word of the theology is irrelevant to the point, which is this. By her own account, this is not a phase, not an aesthetic, not something she picked up from a TikTok witch talk rabbit hole last year. 10 years, she said. That's longer than Blueface has been famous. She was on this path before Thosiana existed, which reframes his question, the big one, in a way nobody noticed in real time. And then there's the line that should have been the headline of every blog, instead of the soup. He asks her, point blank, if she ever put a spell on him. She says no. Then she adds, if I did, you probably wouldn't be doing this stuff you're doing right now. Wild. Let's unpack the machinery inside that sentence, because it's a Swiss watch. She denies the spell flat, immediate, no hesitation. Then, in the same breath, she defines what a spell from her would even be for. Not harm, not money, not fame, restraint. If I had done something to you, the logic goes, you'd be behaving better. The worst thing she claims her spiritual practice would do to this man is make him act right. That's not a confession. That's not even a threat. That's a review of his conduct delivered from the floor of a closet. And it's more devastating than anything the caption pages manufactured all week. She didn't hex him. She audited him. No, actually, hold on. That's not even the coldest one. The coldest one is what she told him weeks earlier, on a stream with Adam22 and Lena the plug sitting right there, about why he spends his weekends elsewhere. He goes and gives it to somebody else. Said it flat. Like reading a grocery list. He was sitting next to her. And the full context of that July 31st stream makes it worse, not better. According to TMZ's write-up, Blueface had Adam22 and Lena the plug on his kick stream and announced, with Nevaeh sitting right beside him, that the two of them don't sleep together anymore because, quote, she's big as fuck. Nevaeh told the couple she doesn't get pleasure from her man while she's pregnant. And then came the grocery list line. Blueface reportedly seemed annoyed and tried to get Adam and Lena to back him up. They didn't. They reportedly started explaining that there are, in fact, other positions that work during pregnancy, and Adam admitted he's into a big belly. Think about that. The man assembled what he thought was a sympathetic panel, on his own platform, on his own stream, and the panel sided with the pregnant woman. That's the part of the clip that got buried under the shock headline. His own referees called the foul on him. One more, because you need it for the file. When Nevaeh confronted him about that Chrisean weekend, Blueface didn't deny anything. He doubled down with a question. You want a mother asterisk 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 who's gonna play behind your back or play in your face? That sentence is doing more work than any PR statement ever could. Keep it in your pocket. We're coming back to it. Actually, let's spend 10 seconds on why that sentence is engineered the way it is, because it's not an answer. It's a trap with two doors. Play behind your back or play in your face presents deception and brazenness as the only two items on the menu, and then frames the brazen one as the honorable choice. It's an old move. Confess to the lesser charge so loudly that nobody asks about the greater one. The question underneath the question, why is playing the baseline at all, never gets asked, because the framing makes you pick a side of his infidelity instead of interrogating it. And here's the thing, Nevaeh didn't pick. She kept asking about the weekend, which, in hindsight, might be the exact moment he decided the conversation needed a bigger distraction. For days later, the whole internet is talking about soup and candles instead of San Diego. Just saying. The timeline has a sense of humor. Now the timeline, because the timeline is where this stops being funny. December 2025, Nevaeh gets his government name tattooed on her face and defends it online, saying she's locked in long-term. January 14th, 2026, Blueface posts that Nevaeh has been cut from the roster, calling his own love life a dictatorship, not a democracy. February 22nd, he's on a Twitch stream kissing her belly and yelling, "You're having a Blueface baby," while waving 2 positive pregnancy tests at the camera. Cut then crowned. In 5 weeks. Write that pattern down, it's going to matter. But the timeline has footnotes, and the footnotes are load-bearing. That January 14th, cut from the roster, post didn't come out of nowhere. According to Complex's reporting, it landed days after Blueface appeared on a live stream with Stun a Girl, and Nevaeh's response at the time wasn't fighting for her roster spot. It was the opposite. She got on Instagram Live and said, "Do not delete my Instagram account due to whatever that man got going on with whomever he got going with. Let's detach my name from all bullshit now. I wish him nothing but the best, just not with each other." She also made a point of saying she doesn't wait turns. Read that again. In January, her instinct was exit. Detach my name. Not fight for me. Not I'm the main. Exit. Remember that instinct, because by August it's going to resurface in a rocking chair, and you'll understand it wasn't a new feeling. It was an old one coming back around. And the tattoo era has its own footnote. When Nevaeh showed off his government name inked beneath her neck in December. 5 ever, she said. Even Blueface's own mother reportedly chimed in, claiming the name was misspelled. His mother, correcting the spelling of the tattoo of her son's name on his girlfriend's face. You cannot make this family up. You can only document it. And after the January cut, Nevaeh downgraded the ink in real time. A tattoo is just a tattoo, y'all. I'm not worried about no tattoo. She even revealed she'd had a first love's name tattooed under her breast years earlier, which tells you something the roster post was designed to hide. She has survived being erased before. She knows the drill. The drill does not own her. The pregnancy stream deserves its own paragraph too, because the blogs clipped the cute part and left the strange part on the floor. Yes, he kissed her belly. Yes, he waved the tests. But according to Complex's report on that February 22nd stream, the full welcome speech went like this. "Welcome to the Blueface Cavaliers, baby. You've been selected. You're having a Blueface baby. Congratulations. You made it. How does it feel? Selected. Made it. That's not a man talking to the mother of his child. That's a commissioner announcing a draft pick." And in an earlier clip from that same stream, he was already worrying out loud that she'd be his first bad baby mama, that other rappers would pursue her precisely because of her status, that it would make me look bad. His words, and that he didn't want to be like Soulja Boy. From minute 1 of the pregnancy announcement, the framing was brand management. The baby was a roster move before it was a baby. June, Nevaeh takes a lie detector test. He wasn't there, which annoyed him, and gets asked if she does voodoo. She says no. The administrator, John Grogan, reportedly catches that as a lie. So when Blueface says on the stream, "I've never seen her doing voodoo, but that's probably what people that do voodoo want you to think," He's not being paranoid out of thin air. He's got a polygraph receipt from a test he didn't attend and didn't even watch, by his own admission. Now here's where we have to be the responsible adults in the comment section, because she failed a lie detector is doing a lot of heavy lifting in the fan camps, and the science does not hold that weight. The National Academies of Sciences conducted a major review of polygraph research. We're talking the definitive federal level assessment. And its conclusion was that polygraph accuracy is seriously limited, that the tests can be beaten, and that they produce false positives at rates that make them unreliable as proof of deception. There's a reason polygraph results are generally inadmissible in court. A polygraph measures physiological arousal, heart rate, sweat, breathing, not lies. And who, pray tell, might have an elevated stress response while being strapped to a machine and interrogated about witchcraft? Maybe, and we're just spitballing. A pregnant woman in a publicly chaotic relationship being tested on camera for content? The June test is a data point, sure. Blueface is entitled to cite it. But the machine caught her is not the slam dunk the comment sections thing it is. And the fact that he weaponized a test he didn't attend, didn't watch, and only heard about, that's not evidence gathering. That's narrative shopping. July 31st, the Adam 22 stream. Him announcing on camera, next to his pregnant girlfriend, that they don't sleep together anymore because she's big as F********. August 9th, San Diego, the show, the police lights, the couch nap with Chrisean. August 11th, the closet, the candles, the sprint out the front door. Notice the rhythm. Every time he comes back from somewhere, a trip, a weekend, another woman's stream, there's an inquisition waiting. The clip argument, the soup interrogation, the altar raid. He even said it himself midstream, like a confession wrapped in a joke. It's a pattern I've noticed. Every time I go somewhere and come back, she's cooking soup. Brother, the pattern isn't the soup. The pattern is you leaving and coming back looking for something to be mad about. And let's extend that observation one click further, because it's even more specific than looking for something to be mad about. Look at the sequence again. He comes home from the Chrisean weekend. A weekend Nevaeh had every reason to want answers about. A weekend she did ask about directly, per Tim's own reporting on the stream, where she confronted him about telling her he'd keep ing around. And how does the confrontation end? Not with answers about San Diego. It ends with him on offense, the caption, the soup, the altar, the voodoo witch sprint. Every single one of those beats converts him from defendant to prosecutor. Whatever else is true about this household, the man has a gift for one specific maneuver. The moment a question lands on him, a bigger spectacle lands on her. If that's strategy, it's brilliant. If it's instinct, it's chilling. Either way, the chat ate it up. And that's the economy we're all participating in right now, watching this. And layered under all of it, the due date. Late August. Days away. He's doing altar reconnaissance in a closet while she's drinking raspberry leaf tea trying to induce labor. Sit with that image for one breath, because it's the whole story in a single frame. On one side of the house, a woman at 38 weeks, drinking herbal tea, timing contractions, preparing her body to do the single most physically dangerous thing a human body routinely does. On the other side, her partner, live streaming an investigation into her candle inventory. Nevaeh had shared on Instagram that the baby was due later this month. The countdown was public knowledge. Everybody watching that stream knew she was about to give birth. And still, the storyline that walked through the door was suspicion. That's not a detail. That's the diagnosis. Zoom in. 3 details, because the details are where everybody got lazy. First, the audio forensics, and this one genuinely matters beyond this house. Half the stream was Nevaeh confronting Blueface over a clip where he allegedly whispered, "She won't leave," while he was with Chrisean. She'd been sent it in her DMs. Caption said what it said. He demands the raw VOD with the music stripped, plays it, and the actual line is, "Wake your game up before you F your name up." Not even close. Not the same sentence. Not the same topic. Somebody captioned a mumble. A fan camp ran it. And a pregnant woman ended up arguing with her man for 20 minutes over a sentence that never existed. He called her a dumb bitch for believing it. And look, the name calling is its own problem. We'll get there, but on the evidence, he was right. The caption industrial complex struck again. We checked the frame. The frame lied. And we need to sit inside this one, because it is the single most important thing that happened on that stream, and it got less coverage than the candles. Understand the mechanics of the attack, because it's coming for a household near you. Somebody, a fan page, a stan account, a chaos agent, we don't know, took a mumbled line from a live stream, slapped a fabricated caption on it, and slid it into the DMs of a 38 weeks pregnant woman. Not posted publicly. Sent to her. Directly. That's not gossip. That's a guided munition. And it worked exactly as designed. It produced a 20-minute on-camera fight, which produced clips, which produced engagement, which produced money for everyone except the two people in the fight. If you think this is rare, you haven't been paying attention. Researchers at MIT analyzed the spread of true and false stories across Twitter and found that false news travels farther, faster, deeper, and more broadly than the truth. False stories were roughly 70% more likely to be retweeted, and the top 1% of false cascades reached up to 100,000 people, while the truth struggled to reach 1,000. And miscaptioned real footage, taking genuine video and lying about what it shows, is considered by researchers one of the most potent low-tech forms of misinformation there is, precisely because the footage is real and only the frame is fake. That's what happened here. Real stream. Real mumble. Fake sentence. And the only reason this particular fake got caught is that the accused man had the raw file and the motivation to strip the music off it on camera. How many couples, how many friendships, how many families don't have a VOD? That's not a rhetorical question. That's the horror movie we're all living in. Second detail. Her prayer. She says it out loud on stream. She prayed for a safe delivery for her babies and against the tongues that tried to claim a random kid. Read that again. That's not generic protection talk. Blueface has publicly and repeatedly denied being the father of Chrisean Jr., and Nevaeh, on her knees at that altar, is reportedly praying against the woman he spent that very weekend with. The altar wasn't random spiritual decor. It was positioned emotionally, directly across from the other house in this story. And here's the layer nobody stacked on top of that. The prayer also tells you what she believes the actual threat is. Listen to the 3 petitions. Safe delivery, that's the baby. For her babies, plural, that's Superior and the unborn son. And against the tongues that tried to claim a random kid. That's not Chrisean as a romantic rival. That's the paternity claim itself. She's not praying against the woman. She's praying against the paperwork. In Nevaeh's cosmology, apparently, the danger to her household isn't another woman. It's a narrative, a claim, a tongue, which is fascinating because it's the exact same war Blueface has been fighting publicly since 2023. Deny the claim, discredit the claim, escape the claim. Whatever else divides this couple, on that closet floor, she was fighting his fight, on her knees, in a closet he ran out of. The irony has a heartbeat. Third, and this is the one that got zero coverage. Mid-conversation, out of nowhere, Nevaeh tells him, "You're in a good jar, though. You're good. You're great. Nothing's wrong with you. I love you." So there's a difference. A good jar. We had to rewind that 3 times. She has a jar system. There's a good one, which implies, and we're just doing math here, a bad one. And whatever you believe about any of this, spiritually or otherwise, the man did not ask a single follow-up question about the jar taxonomy. He just wanted to know if she was in the Illuminati. Priorities. And let's be precise about what the jar moment reveals, because it's easy to laugh at it and miss it. Strip away the spiritual framework entirely, and look at what's underneath. This woman has a filing system for people. There is a category for people she is protecting, and a category for people she is not. And she told him, on camera, with shelfies on, "You're good. You're great. Nothing's wrong with you. I love you." Now, whether a jar is a prayer object, a focus tool, a psychological ritual, or something else entirely depends entirely on your beliefs, and we're not touching that. What doesn't depend on your beliefs is the psychology of saying it out loud. That was not a slip. That was a message. I'm still choosing you. Filed under protected. For now. Because a filing system implies reviews. Implies refiling. Implies that the shelfies on is a decision she makes, not a permanent address. He heard none of that. He heard jar. and his brain went to Illuminati. There's a whole thesis in that gap, and we'll cash it in later. Keep the jar in your pocket next to the play in your face line. Now watch how the room covered it. Because the coverage is its own confession. TMZ played it as pure slapstick. Grown man booked it out of his own home. Voodoo witch, running from candles. Comedy framing, top to bottom. The shade room orbit framed the whole Nevaeh era as spectacle from day one. The live stream test reveal, the celebration, the circus of it, and the fan blogs. They split into camps instantly. She's hexing him versus she's a practitioner of an African religion being mocked in her own home. Meanwhile, Carlisa, Blueface's mother, who once publicly congratulated the couple and called children a blessing, reportedly jumped online looking for a priest or preacher to, quote, break whatever viewers decided Nevaeh was doing. Grandma's assembling an exorcism task force over a closet shrine. That's where we are as a society. And notice what every single one of those framings has in common. They all start from his side of the door. TMZ's version is a comedy about a man fleeing. The Standcamp version is a horror movie about a woman scheming. Carlissa's version is a spiritual emergency about her son. Even the sympathetic camp, she's a practitioner being mocked in her own home, defines her by her relationship to his mockery. Nobody's headline was Woman Prays for Safe Delivery Days Before Birth. That story existed. It happened on camera, out loud, in plain language. It just doesn't clip. And that's the quiet economics underneath all of this. Platforms reward the strange frame, not the true one. Researchers who study social platforms have found that the incentive structures of these networks, the reward systems built into sharing, systematically favor sensational, novel, emotionally charged content over accurate content. The candles beat the prayer every time. That's not a glitch. That's the product. Also worth noting what didn't get a headline. The wrestling with the miscaptioned clip, the 20-minute fight over a sentence that didn't exist, got maybe a fraction of the pickup the Voodoo spring got. A fabricated quote nearly detonating a household. That's a story about all of us. A man running from candles. That's a story about him. Guess which one the algorithm picked. We are not passive observers of this machine. The machine is trained on us. Now, the loudest counter-narrative, and let's be fair to it for one beat, is, it's a stream. It's all scripted. These two perform conflict the way WWE performs fights. And honestly, there's evidence for that. The man monetizes chaos. He knows exactly where the camera is at all times. And let's be even more fair to it, because the scripted theory has receipts beyond vibes. This is the same man who claimed, in May of this year, that his entire family image with Chrisean was performed for money. He has confessed, publicly, proudly, to manufacturing domestic storylines for profit. So when a new storyline drops featuring candles, a sprint, and a quotable villain turn, skepticism isn't cynicism. It's pattern recognition. The man told us the family drama was content. Why would the altar drama be sacred? But then you get to the part of the stream where Nevaeh thinks the moment has passed, and she's sitting alone in a rocking chair, the one she bought to breastfeed in, her words, and she starts talking to the chat with nobody performing. A lot of things are just starting to marinate in my head. I'm fully aware. This is clearly not love. I don't know what this is. She says she's not going to crash out because a crash out just buys another episode. She says, Jonathan can't teach me because what he's showing me is just being a hoe. She says she talks to herself in the mirror. You don't script that. Nobody's writer's room produces, I sit and talk to myself as a beat. That's not content. That's a woman narrating her own wake-up call in real time, 40 weeks pregnant, in a house where the camera never turns off. If that was acting, give her the Emmy and get her out of there. And here's the tell inside the tell, the detail that should settle the scripted debate for anyone still holding it. It's the crash-out line. A crash-out just buys another episode. Sit with what that sentence actually means. She understands, consciously, strategically, at 40 weeks pregnant, that her authentic emotional breakdown has market value to the machine she's trapped in. She has watched the economy of her own pain long enough to know the exchange rate. So she's rationing herself. That is not a performance of awareness. That is the cost of awareness. In a life where every feeling is inventory, Researchers who study livestream culture talk about parasocial bonds, the one-sided intimacy audiences build with streamers. The feeling that you know these people. The rocking chair monologue is the dark mirror of that. An audience that genuinely feels for her, watching her protect herself from how much they feel. She can't even fall apart without producing value for the house. So she sits in the chair she bought for her son and talks to herself in the mirror and files the man under good jar. Allegedly, that's love in Blue's world. Reportedly. So here's the read nobody printed. The mainstream take is haha, Blueface scared of Voodoo. Cute. Wrong. The real story is that Nevaeh Akira built the only square footage in that entire house that isn't for the stream. And that's the part that actually scared him. Think about what he said himself, in the middle of lecturing her about sacrifice. This ain't no boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm giving baby her own career. That's how it works in Blue's world. He said the quiet part into a hot mic, without blinking. The relationship is the workplace. The house is the set. The pregnancy is a season arc. And that's not even cynical interpretation. That's his own business model, stated plainly, while she sat there 38 weeks along. And the roster language confirms it's not a slip, it's a system. Welcome to the Blueface Cavaliers. You've been selected. Cut from the roster, a dictatorship, not a democracy. I'm giving baby her own career. Those 3 quotes spanned 8 months, 3 different contexts, 1 consistent architecture. In Blue's world, intimacy is employment. Selection, probation, cut, re-signing. And employment relationships have a specific power structure. One side controls the compensation, the platform, the audience, the narrative. Advocates who map controlling relationship dynamics. The National Domestic Violence Hotline's power and control wheel is the standard framework. Describe patterns exactly like this. Economic control, using status and resources to define the terms of the relationship, minimizing and reframing the other person's reality. To be crystal clear, we are not diagnosing anyone, and no one here has been accused of abuse. We're saying the vocabulary of the arrangement, his vocabulary, on the record, maps onto a structure that experts tell people to watch for. When a man describes his romantic life as a dictatorship, believe the brochure. And in the middle of that fully monetized environment, this woman sets up an altar. Something with 10 years of history behind it. Something with rules, and a priest in Atlanta, and elders, and a vocabulary he has to stop and Google on stream. Shango, the Orishes, the Elix on her wrist. Something that, by her own words, is not meant for people to see. For a man whose entire world runs on visibility, she built a room, a closet, technically, that runs on privacy. That's the actual threat, not the candles. The altar is the one thing in Blue's world that he doesn't own, can't produce, can't clip, and can't caption. And watch how he reacted once he understood that, because he did understand it. Maybe faster than she did. He didn't argue theology. He didn't ask about the 10 years, the babalao, what the practice means to her, where she found it, what it gives her. He asked 2 questions. Did you put a spell on me? And are you in the Illuminati? Both questions are about the same thing, whether the unknowable thing in his house was being used against him. Not what it is, not who she is. Just, does the thing I can't control threaten the things I do? That's not fear of voodoo. That's fear of an asset he can't depreciate. The altar was off his books, and he knew it. And the sprint out the front door was the only honest audit he's ever given. And notice what happened to her tone across this stream versus the older ones. The woman who used to argue for her spot, I'm in the house, I'm the main, was still there in flashes. But by the end, I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm staying patient. I'm staying down. I'll figure it out. That's not a fight for position. That's an exit interview happening in slow motion, with pre-labor contractions in the background. She even told him goodbye in advance. She just wrapped it in prophecy. One day you might feel like that with me, who knows? Was the "she won't leave" clip fight really about a caption? Or was it the first time she let herself test, out loud, on camera, whether he'd fight for her or fight her? He fought her, over a sentence that didn't exist. And when he proved it didn't exist, he didn't comfort her. He made her apology the content. I want you to apologize to the whole entire world. Her humiliation was the victory lap. Allegedly, that's love in Blue's world. Reportedly. And the apology demand deserves its own slow replay, because it's the purest distillation of the whole system. Think about what apologize to the whole entire world actually requires. Not an apology to him, privately, in the kitchen, to the world, to the chat, to the clips pages. The audience had to be included in the settlement. In a normal relationship, a phrase doing heroic work in this sentence, being proven right ends the argument. In Blue's world, being proven right opens the argument, because vindication is content, and content needs a closing segment. He didn't want peace. He wanted a season finale, and she gave it to him, reportedly. Because what choice does a woman have at 38 weeks in a house, where every refusal is also content? Silence is a clip. Refusal is a clip. The only move that isn't content is leaving, and we'll get to that. Meanwhile, and this is the loyalty math nobody did, he spent the stream demanding she be sweet when he returns from weekends with a woman whose paternity claim he calls a lie, while Nevaeh is at the altar reportedly praying against that very claim. She's more loyal to his narrative than he is to her peace. The spell, if there is one, isn't in the soup. It's in the fact that she's still there. Damn. And one more layer on that loyalty math, because the arithmetic gets uglier the longer you stare at it. She is, by all the available evidence, the only person in this entire story defending his version of reality at a spiritual level. Think about it. His mother is online hunting for a priest to break whatever Nevaeh is doing. The fan camps are split between she hexed him and he mocked her faith. The blogs turned her religion into a punchline, and through all of it, the actual content of her prayers, her own words on stream, was protection for his son, safety for her delivery, and opposition to a claim he publicly disowns. She was on his side harder than his own comment section, and his side's response was Voodoo Witch, a sprint out the front door, and a demand that she apologize to the whole entire world. If you're scoring loyalty at home, that box score is a blowout, and she lost it anyway. That's the part that should keep you up tonight. Not the candles. The scoreboard. So where does this go? 3 roads. Watch how this plays first, because it's the road with the most pavement. The baby arrives this month. The baby shower happens. He already confirmed it's 5 days out and insisted on it, because, credit where due, he called it the most wholesome celebration, and said it can turn a family dynamic around. There will be a birth stream. There will be a welcome home, son stream. The altar will get joked about. Carlis's priest hunt will become a running bit. And by October, the Voodoo storyline will be a laugh line in the rotation. Nevaeh settles into the Blueface baby mama economy. Jaden Alexis already showed the template, keeping it composed and businesslike on her own stream when the pregnancy news dropped. And the first time Blueface fumbles this version of peace, it'll be over something just as small as a caption. Because the pattern is the pattern, and patterns don't retire. And don't sleep on the Jaden precedent, because it's the proof of concept for Road 1. When the pregnancy news broke, Jaden Alexis, the ex, the other baby mama, the woman with every license to detonate, kept it composed, kept it businesslike, kept it on her own platform and her own terms. She didn't fight the economy. She joined it, on salary, with benefits. That's the mature equilibrium of the roster system. Everybody gets a channel, everybody gets a lane, and the man at the center collects a percentage of every storyline. If Nevaeh takes that road, she'll be fine, financially at least. The archive shows the system can absorb her. The question the rocking chair raised is whether she wants to be absorbed. And that question doesn't get answered at a baby shower. But don't be shocked when the table flips instead. Because the rocking chair monologue wasn't a breakdown, it was a briefing. She's already rehearsing the leaving out loud. I'm going to let my soul talk to me. Women who narrate their exit in advance don't unnarrate it. By this time next year, expect Nevaeh Akira, with her own platform, her own following built off his streams, telling this whole era from her side, and the good jar clip aging into a full-blown anthem, and the specific failure we predict for the other side of this house. The day he needs the public to believe he's the calm, reasonable one, the archive won't let him. Every dumb asterisk 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 is time-stamped. Her receipts aren't captions. They're VODs. And remember, she's rehearsed this exit before. January. Let's detach my name from all bullshit now. I wish him nothing but the best, just not with each other. She didn't leave then. She came back, got crowned, got pregnant, and gave the system one more full season. But the muscle memory of leaving doesn't disappear, it compounds. The January exit speech was about his chaos. The August rocking chair speech is about her clarity. This is clearly not love. I don't know what this is. That's the upgrade. In January, she was fleeing his behavior. In August, she's naming her situation. Naming is the step right before walking, every time. In every story like this one. The only thing that has ever delayed the walk is logistics, and nothing is more logistical than a newborn. Which is why the smart money says the exit, if it comes, doesn't come loud. It comes the way the altar came. Quietly, behind a closed door. Already 10 years in the making before he ever noticed it. And 5 years out, this stream becomes a case study. Not in celebrity drama, but in two things bigger than both of them. One, the Streamhouse relationship as a managed franchise, where I love you, and content calendar mean the same thing. Blue's world won't be the last roster economy. It'll be the blueprint someone else polishes. Two, that caption fight. A fabricated quote, DM'd to a pregnant woman, nearly detonated a household on camera. And the only thing that stopped it was raw footage. That's the future of every relationship lived online. Not infidelity, but Dr. Perception. The next generation won't ask, did he cheat? They'll ask, did you check the VOD? And we'd add a third legacy to that case study. Quieter than the other two. This stream will be one of the first documents of what happens when a private spiritual life collides with the fully public household. Whatever you believe about altars, prayers, jars, and tongues, a woman's 10-year-old faith became a trending topic because a door got opened on camera. There was no consent form for that. There couldn't be. She built the altar precisely because it was the one thing that wasn't supposed to be seen. And once it was seen, it got renamed by people who don't know the first thing about it. Voodoo, hexes, witchcraft, Illuminati. Her tradition got a caption slapped on it. The exact same crime as the fake. She won't leave, quote, just older and uglier. A real thing, framed by people who didn't understand it, turned into content that travels faster than the truth ever will. The MIT numbers don't just describe tweets. They describe the next decade of every private moment dragged into public. And the altar? Whether you believe in the energy or not, the woman praying in the closet outlasted every headline about the man running from it. He thought he caught her doing something. She was doing something. Just not to him. For once, he ran from the wrong thing. One last receipt before we close the folder, and it's the smallest one in the whole file. Remember the order at the window. Extra pickles, no lettuce, no tomatoes, grilled onions, strawberry lemonade, and I already ate. I ate before I came. That's my tactics. He walked into that house armored against the soup. He had a plan for the soup. He had rehearsed the soup. And the soup was never the threat. The threat was a closed door he'd never thought to open, behind which the mother of his unborn son was doing the most unremarkable thing a person can do. Praying for her babies, in the one room in Blue's world that didn't belong to Blue. He came home ready for a food fight, and walked into a mirror. No wonder he ran. Mirrors are the one opponent you can't caption. You got the version with the jar in it. The blogs left that on the floor. Now run it back. Drop your read in the comments. Was that altar protection? Or was it a goodbye letter? Like the video if this hit. Subscribe and tap the bell, because when that baby lands, any day now. Part 2 of this is already loading. Fame cryptics. We watch what they walk past.